You're listening to Real Estate and Bourbon. Whether you like it neat or on the rocks, you're in the right place. And now your host, Dawn Roy.
Holy cow. Welcome again to another episode of Real Estate and Bourbon. I'm your host, Dawn Roy, and I have the most amazing person with me today. This is Christopher Young with Aurora Title.
Hello.
You guys are my people. You know that, right?
Absolutely. We love working with great agents, and couldn't have anybody better than you.
Oh, my gosh. What I do is I want to give you credit for being in an office full of women.
You know, it's an interesting position. One of the first questions they asked me when I interviewed there was, "How do you feel about lifting, 20-gallon water jugs?" And I'm like, "I can do that." So
to put the water jug.
It was an interesting interview question, but I was happy to do it, and I've been the water jug. I've been the water jug guy ever since. I mean, I don't do any real estate, but I just lift water jugs. So
I love it.
It all works out.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
You know the rules of the game. You have to sip bourbon with me, and
that's a tough gig.
Bring a saucy story.
I can do
I'm
that.
just saying.
I can do that.
Are you going to introduce me?
Oh, boo. Did I forget my
you always
favoritist
forget about
man
me.
ever? So the podcast is produced by the fabulous Studio 77 and Mike Resendez. You are so amazing. You are so amazing. I mean,
I'm the redheaded stepchild here.
you are the redheaded stepchild. Oh my gosh. No, really. I mean, because of you, follow, subscribe, get on it, because this is an amazing podcast. Yes. And we got a new video coming out called Zillow Busters, and we just showed it to Christopher.
It's great.
It's pretty funny, isn't it?
It's, as the kids say these days, it's fire.
It's fire. I love that. Well, I've saved this for you.
I'm very excited.
So this is actually a whiskey. It is not a bourbon. You cannot call anything bourbon unless it's distilled in the United States. This is Yamazaki. It is a single malt Japanese whiskey. Ooh. It is my most expensive bottle. I paid $150 for that.
I am not worthy.
Bourbon people, that may not be a lot, but for me, it's a big damn deal.
That's absolutely.
So let's get on that. Let's see how that does.
Let's do it.
Let's see what.
Need to.
I got you a little water.
To prepare here.
Yeah, be prepared. I brought you some water.
Thank you.
We're gonna just give this a little splash. Let's see. It is 11 now. It's 11 o'clock, so
we're approaching happy hour.
We're approaching happy hour.
Europe,
it's happy hour. It's happy hour somewhere.
We should bring some little cheese and crackers just to soak up the alcohol a little bit.
I mean, the story.
Don't blaspheme.
The
this
stories
is not
get better
soaking up alcohol.
So.
This is an experience. So, in the official Real Estate and Bourbon glass, cheers. Let's get a little
sweet.
Oh yeah. That's got
delicious.
some body to it, doesn't it?
Does.
Woo!
That's real good.
I love me some bourbon, but that's a fine whiskey. Nice.
I haven't had very many Japanese whiskeys, so this is new. This is
that
good.
lives up to its price point for sure. I like that. That's good.
Real smooth. Thank you.
You're most welcome. My pleasure.
I also, for another episode, I brought you a little treat.
What?
This is courtesy of the folks at Aurora Title. And
Aurora.
We wanted to.
That's why I use these fine people, because they know how to.
We wanted to share some of the bourbon love with you. So.
Oh.
This is a Knob Creek single barrel.
Yes.
And picked it up, but also have a story about it.
120 proof. This is one of those you drink a glass and you lay down.
Really?
You don't go nowhere. Okay.
That's the last episode of the day.
You get the sweats.
You will get the sweats. So tell me a good story about that.
So the first trip that my now wife and I took was to the Bourbon Trail, our first trip together, and we went to the
That's a good wife right there. That's a keeper.
I know.
One that will go on the Bourbon Trail with you.
That was it.
You jump on that.
Absolutely. So we went to the Jim Beam distillery where they make Knob Creek, and had an experience, and I was able to actually buy a bottle for my dad, but got to watch the entire production process of a bottle of Knob Creek, from bottling to wrapping, and I got to even put my thumbprint on top of the wax as it was being formed, which was really super cool.
So cool.
Yeah, a really, really neat experience that I'm hoping they still do that. So
yeah.
If you ever get a chance to,
I definitely will. I've been to what is the one? It just went right out of my head. Yes, let's
Buffalo
do this. Let's do
Trace.
this live. I was at a horse show back in April, and Woodford. We went to
Oh,
Woodford
yeah.
because Woodford was the bourbon for the
Derby, right.
And I bought the Woodford Derby bottle,
That's right.
which is wrapped in kind of a roses and the horse
Amazing.
motif label, and it's lovely. I actually bought two. One I'm still working on, and one I have finished. And what
As
I'm
you should
doing
have,
now is
so.
creating an heirloom bottle.
Ooh.
So, and what that means is, anytime I get to about the last glass of any bottle of bourbon, I pour it into this bottle, and then eventually once
Making
it
your own
gets,
blend?
it will make its own blend. Won't that be cool?
I'd
And,
never heard of that. That's a really
had
cool
it going,
thing.
Well, it was a cool thing until my brother came to visit over the summer, and I had it started pretty well, and I went to bed.
Uh-oh.
And I come down in the morning, and the damn thing's empty.
That's a.
I literally have 15 bottles you can choose from, and you had to pick that
That's
one.
a do not touch this
I'm
bottle.
gonna have to put
a big red X on it. So
No. So he literally drank I've had to restart my heirloom bottle, just
well,
so you know.
I mean, if anybody was going to drink it, it might as well be your brother. but
Absolutely. And he will
still.
be here and you guys are helping him out. This is a great tie-in, great conversation. My brother is a pilot for Southwest.
Right.
He is moving from Dallas back to Virginia. I am
Fantastic.
beside myself
That
with
is so cool.
excitement.
We're glad to have him
And
back.
I've actually he has a home in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
So throwing some business you guys' way to do some deed work and stuff on that
Very
house.
appreciative.
And
Right up my alley.
I
in the
absolutely
cellar
would
side
not
of
have
things.
anybody else do it,
Well,
you
thank
know.
you.
But I know for sure, as pleasant as you are, you've got some fun title stories.
We do have fun title stories. I have not been doing this job as long as my coworkers have, but it's I've learned quickly that there are some fun. Real estate's a fun industry, and
Yeah.
I love it because I get to meet all types of people and do podcast drinking bourbon and whiskey at 11
o'clock
a.m.
in the
Yeah,
morning.
I mean, where else would you get to do this?
Well,
So-
Michael and I were talking before you came about investing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, and one of my most favorite investors I met at the grand opening of Aurora Title when they opened, how many years ago? 5 years ago?
Almost 6 years
Yeah.
ago now. Yeah.
So they had the Cheezilla. Leave it to Sally. Only Sally knows,
Sally knows how to throw a
party.
party. She does.
She had like the Cheezilla guy, and then anyway there was a beer kegs, right? And I met Nathan, who is just phenomenal. I love him.
He's got some good stories too.
He
So
has some amazing
You need to get
stories.
Nathan on the podcast.
And I told him, and he drinks bourbon, so we'll have to get him out here.
Even better.
And I met him, and over the last several years, we've really developed a great relationship. And I'll bring him, deals, and he'll bring me stuff. And I was talking to Michael how sometimes I'm just the financial portion.
Yeah,
I loan money to renovate. And,
The silent partner.
And Holly is always sending me the deed of trust with my name and whatever.
It's a cool feeling.
It's a great feeling. I mean, I'll take your 12%.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so one of the things I find hysterical about him, and you probably have stories like this, because when investors buy a house worth investing in, especially for flipping, they're really not in good shape.
Right. I mean, it's usually pretty bad.
And, not only is a house a shithole, the title is a shit.
Yep.
And so if I'm walking through a property that I'm kind of previewing for him, he'll sometimes go, hey, listen, I've got this wholesaler, or it's got this da-da-da, run over there and take a look at it for me and tell me what you think.
I'm not touching that thing with a 10-foot pole.
This is his question. I'll call him in the house, and of course it will be the hoarder hell, right?
Yep.
And I'll say, Nathan, this one, I've got this and the, kitchen, blah, blah, blah. I'm, flooring. This is a total top, we got to have windows, the whole name. He goes, does it smell like cat piss? That's his only question.
That is a criteria.
That's all he
that
cares
needs to
about.
be
And I
met.
said, I'm about to choke. It's so bad. And he goes, I want to buy it. He
Perfect.
will buy it sight unseen
Done. Let's
as long
go.
as it smells like a cat's litter box.
That is amazing.
Because this is his theory. No one else will touch it.
Absolutely.
He'll get it at a great price.
Yeah. And if you're willing to do the work to take
Right,
it,
and
then
some of the ones that he's got, listen, let me tell you folks, he's getting ready to list. There's one in Bellevue that the cat urine literally peeled the paint off. It was so horrible. I went in with with my
hazmat suit.
Oh my God, it
Yeah.
was so horrible, and it's in Bellevue where you can't get in there for
Yeah.
under $500,000.
Yeah.
cute, all brick, 2-story, walking distance to all the restaurants. It's gonna fly when he lists that.
Yeah,
thing.
that's amazing. I mean, so like you said, if you find those
so on
really,
your side, though,
really
what do you
bad,
see? Yeah.
really bad homes, it's where you can find it. So
That's where the money is.
Yeah. Well, so I for Aurora specialize in seller sides and in refinances, and so I see a lot of these interesting sellers who come in and have owned the home for forever, and so they've got a lot of stuff to begin with. And so, as you mentioned, with hoarding, a
lot of stuff,
especially with our investors who are buying the home, they are willing to put up with, Lord knows how much. Just
he said, you can just leave it.
Yeah,
and they usually do.
Right.
And then a big Dipsy dumpster comes in
and just takes everything.
And it's like,
yeah, let's go. And that's probably honestly easier for him because then it's the emotional attachment of leaving all of your or trying to sort through all your stuff. It just drags
would take
on
him months and
on.
months if ever.
So getting through that, but we have it's a different investor from Nathan, but I got to meet the seller as they were signing documents, but there's not only physical baggage that you have to deal with, but emotional baggage as well. And so we kind of play therapist, and I'm sure you know this as an agent. You end up in a situation.
Counselor,
yeah, I mean,
child psychologist.
there are all these things that you probably should have a degree for, but don't need it because you're a realtor and you have to deal with it. So let's go.
Multiple hats.
Let's go. Yeah, and so it's a really interesting perspective. We obviously do this every day.
Yes.
And so I have to remind myself constantly that this is, for most people, it's an emotional process. You're selling an investment. You're selling a big part of your...
Even in the best conditions.
Correct.
It's very emotional.
Correct. But then when you throw in the hoarding aspect of it and the disrepair and it really gets a little dicey. So with when it comes to title aspects, we'll obviously do the title search, and when we start looking through the land records, you get a lot of red flags that start popping up. And so, I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of transactions where we've got to find 6 relatives who, were an heir to this person who
may or may not be
alive,
above ground.
Exactly. They very, could have had too many glasses of whiskey at one point. So, but is
there too many? I mean, Christopher.
There's not.
Okay.
There's not.
Just
You're
let's
right.
clarify for the listening audience.
I should not have said that. No, but the stuff that we have to wade through, and it's as in, at least in Virginia, it's the seller's responsibility to put forth that effort in order to get the title clear so that the new buyer can take title. And so that's first of all why you do a title search, and not buy a property from your relative who's like, everything's fine, I got no liens on the property, I got no mortgages.
Or they'll buy from FSBOs.
Correct.
I've had to talk first-time home buyers off the fence because they want to deal directly with the homeowner, and I'm like, listen, I'm not against anyone selling their home on their own and saving money. If I can help you in whatever way, please let me know.
Sure.
I get it. But if you are not represented as the buyer and they're not represented as a seller,
it's a disaster. That's a nuclear bomb waiting to blow up. So
and guess what? You guys get to see it all
the time.
And it all unfolds.
Yeah, and so when they'll call us and they'll say, "Well, I've got this arrangement," and so I think back to my Alabama roots. I've got this arrangement with a relative, and he said there's no mortgage on the property, but we're gonna be just putting together a contract. It'll be fine. Can you help us? Do I want to help you? Sure. It ends up being real dicey. So we love it when agents are involved because it just makes things a little bit smoother. But then, I mean, you can't.
Well, still, I mean, some agents can bring their own shit show to town. So,
that is true.
No offense, but that's so. Are you from Alabama? Too?
I am from Alabama. So I was born and raised.
I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Well, we have a southern roots.
We have southern roots, and all of my family. They all talk like this, and everything ends in a question mark, where you're saying a question or not,
honey.
And it's like, well, bless her heart.
Bless your heart.
Is that a gunny sack or a church dress?
Bless your heart can mean multiple things. By
bless your heart's basically Southern for you're an asshole
or you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're
poor thing.
Exactly.
Good Lord, help us all.
It's been a real fun transition. My wife is from New York, and
oh dear Lord,
she's from just north of New York City, and so if anybody,
so does she tell you how it is?
She does, and
because that's how I roll.
What does that mean, Michael?
We don't hold back. We
Yeah.
just tell it how it is. Doesn't matter if it's sugar coated or not. We just say what's on our mind.
you're going to
go.
hear it, and
You're gonna hear
going to
it.
like it.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking it back. Is
yeah.
that what you're saying? I'm not taking it back.
Exactly. It's been a fun way to introduce her to having grown up in the South. Both my parents are from New Jersey, so I don't have a traditional
You're a
Southern
transplant,
accent. I am,
technically.
yeah. So
okay.
was born and raised in Alabama, and family lived there for 20 plus years. But it's definitely, everybody would always be like, oh, you wear shoes when I would go to school. I went to school in Western New York, so it's but also like, oh, is your mom like this amazing Southern cook? I'm like, she's a great cook, but she
ain't a Southern cook.
It's not a fried chicken and cornbread kind of night.
She ain't patting the biscuit out.
Exactly,
I'm just letting you know. I have an aunt. She's long past, but measured nothing. My father was a wonderful cook, and my mother did not inherit the cooking gene. Her idea of cooking was macaroni and cheese and frankfurters on Monday nights when we were kids, because that was Scout night.
Nothing wrong with that.
But that being said, her older sister literally would make, she would fry a tenderloin and she would pat a biscuit. And if you're from the South, you know what patting a biscuit means. And literally would just flip flour out, put some stuff together, pat it out, use some of the grease, pat it out, and then make a roux out of the. Oh my God!
There's something to be said for that.
Just fantastic.
Yeah.
And the funny thing that you said about wearing shoes, this has been several years ago, but I had a great guy and his family moved down from Pittsburgh. He works for Sabra there in Hopewell.
Yeah.
And he wanted a home in a great school district, but was just perplexed that if you're in desirable areas,
right,
that our home prices, and this has got to be 7 or 8 years ago, $450, the Foxes.
Sure.
Foxcroft, Fox Creek,
Yep.
Foxfire. You're spending $450 minimum to be out there even 8 years ago. Right. So we're driving around this guy, and he's like, "You mean I can't buy anything for $250,000?" I'm like, "Of course you can, but not
here.
What you're saying to me, hello. I mean, and I take copious notes because I'm going to use whatever you say,
right,
and remind you.
You need to read
what
people.
your
What
your motivation is, and he's
Miranda
like,
rights
because
before.
he's got a 6-year-old going to start first grade, and he wants a great school district with a lot of kids and a pool and association. I mean, all that,
right?
All the stuff,
checking all the boxes. But
and he's like, well, I can't believe I have to pay $450,000. I mean, here I am in Virginia. I mean, you're in the South. And I said, boo boo,
old folks.
We wear shoes to church and have indoor plumbing.
In most of the houses.
And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, I'm telling you, Richmond is a very good financial state to be. Well, we have a great jobs economy, number one.
Right.
I mean, that's what drives everything.
Right.
And if you want to be somewhere that everyone else is moving and want to be, you're going to pay, yo.
Exactly.
Well, when the Ryan homes are $500,000.
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, he's got these X, Y, and Z criteria, but each one of those X, Y, and Z criteria come with a price tag. And so you're going to add, if you want an HOA, you're going to add this. You're going to, if you want all these things. So,
well, and it's funny talking because you representing sellers, because a lot of times when I send my file to Holly, then it gets, booted to you.
Right.
Didn't you have a seller one time that refused to sign their deed but wanted to get paid?
Absolutely.
What was that story you were telling me?
Okay, so
how does that work, really?
Well, so what happens when you in real estate, it's in Virginia, you have to sign your documents and you have to record those documents in the land records before you can disperse on a file. So that means send out all the money, give the proceeds to the seller, pay off a mortgage, all those kinds of things.
Well, and technically, to all the buyers out there, you're not supposed to have keys and or possession.
Correct.
Until it's been recorded. And you, as a title company, was it 72 hours? How long do you have?
48 hours.
You have 48 hours. You have to
2 business days
to record.
Yeah, and typically I think we have
you do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, we do our best, and thanks to the pandemic, actually a lot of jurisdictions are online now, so it makes recording very easy. So when it comes to a seller side, we always try to have the seller sign a few days in advance, because it allows for the transaction to close more smoothly, and it allows for.
Well, you've got to get that deed package to whoever.
And I could be working with a title company next door. I could be working with a title company down in Colonial Heights. It just depends on, every transaction is different, and so getting those loose ends wrapped up. Well, especially people who haven't done this recently, who maybe used to sitting across the table from
the buyer and seller.
Exactly. And
Right.
they're like, what do you mean I'm not going to see the buyer? I'm like, not in my office. I mean, it's all separate
When my
now.
parents bought homes and we came from North Carolina, that's the tradition.
Yeah.
You sat across the table from the the other party.
Slide that check and slide the keys across the table, and that's how it works. Yeah. So now people, it's all kind of disjointed.
Yes.
But in a nice way is that it allows you to kind of have that personalized touch when it
Yes.
comes to the settlement process. But I've had people who will say to me, well, I'm not going to sign my documents until I have my money. I'm like, I can't give you money until you sign your documents and until they're recorded. So
Hello.
like it just doesn't work like that. And one of us is going to have to blink, and it ain't going to be me. So it's kind of how it goes.
It's rules and regs, baby. Rules and regs.
Exactly. And so I've told people, I'm like, listen, I promise you, this is how it goes. I said, we help, hundreds of families every year buy and sell their homes. And this is how every transaction, well, thank you. This is how every transaction goes. And
you're not going to be the exception.
Right. And it's not, this isn't something.
It's not personal.
No, it's not personal at all. And it's just, this is how it goes. And so I'm sorry, but I need you to come in and sign your documents. Because otherwise, and if you want me to, I'll send you a mobile notary to you to make it a little bit easier for you. But it's,
Why do they make it so difficult?
Who? People?
Who, the sellers or?
The coming and sign it, like, I don't understand.
I think that's a great question. I think there's just some people that have it in their head how things are going to go down the way they want it to happen.
Correct.
And it conflicts with, well, and by the way, this is not rules that we have made up.
No.
These are
Virginia
federal
state.
and state
Yeah.
law that we have to abide by.
Correct.
And
It's called the Wet Settlement Act in Virginia.
and we are not going to alter how we process transactions because it doesn't fit your narrative.
Right.
Because we're not going to lose our ability to work.
Right. And I think you probably see this a lot more than we do is people coming into a transaction or coming into the idea of selling their home or buying a home with what they expect is going to happen. And you have to break those barriers down and say,
Oh my God.
Here are the things that are actually going to happen because this is how it works in our area. Like you were talking about in Pennsylvania, it's different in every state. And I can only speak to what happens in Virginia, but I know it may be different in New York or Arizona or wherever, but
So what I find is a lot of people, the misconception that people have on the real estate side is they will always quote to me what some relative or so-and-so who lives in another state or even as close as maybe Northern Virginia.
Sure.
So people don't understand
yeah.
that Central Virginia
totally
real
different.
estate, what happens here is different than what's happening,
Absolutely.
because every locality has their purchase agreements different,
Right.
their forms are different. There are 29 MLSs in the state of Virginia.
I did not know
alone.
that.
Is that ridiculous? So my MLS, Central Virginia MLS,
Right.
is different than Bright, which is up in Northern Virginia. And then
Right.
there's Carr, which is
Yeah.
Chester, Charlottesville,
Right.
and then you've got a whole other one over there in Chesapeake and the Virginia Beach area. And I literally have had people tell me, "Well, my friend on Facebook who lives in Herndon."
Is this your friend or is this just somebody you happen to be
I'm like, dear Jesus,
friends with?
stop
on Facebook?
talking to people about your home inspection other than me and the inspector.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they're doing anywhere else but the microcosm that we're in right here.
On your property. Yeah, exactly.
That's all that matters. But
Right.
they will go out and it's kind of like how women do. I'm sure dudes do this too. But like when you're dating someone new, it's like, so what do you think? How did he act at the party? Or blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
You question instead of just going, do I like this person and do
Right.
they fit my life?
Right.
You're out there, taste testing everybody's opinion.
Yeah. But then you don't know what the truth is anymore, and you don't
Right,
really
because
know
someone could
where...
be telling you, well, he's an asshole, and then they'll turn around and date him.
Exactly. Are you speaking from experience,
I
John?
don't know. I may or may not be flipping out. So, yeah, but I have had 2 bourbons this morning, so we,
Cheers to that.
Here, God, I love you, Michael. Has this guy got like a voice for radio, or is it just me?
Yeah. Can you do an intro or outro for the podcast?
Would you do
Well,
one?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
So
That'd be great.
And it brings
happy
it close
to.
to home. I just love that.
That's right.
it's unfortunate that this is being filmed because I have a voice for radio and also a face for radio. But that's
Not
okay.
at all. He's as handsome as he can be.
Have you ever thought about going into radio?
I haven't. I grew up as a singer.
Okay.
Do you sing? We didn't know this.
I've
We would have whipped something out, wouldn't we?
I've unleashed an animal here. Yes, so I grew up singing. I sang in a boys' choir growing up, and then I sang in high school, and then I sang in an a cappella group in college.
We are going to have him back.
Oh no.
Okay.
And we're going to do something.
So that's where
You know me.
That's where the resonance I think got honed. But
Were you the baritone?
so I always sang bass because nobody else really could or would. But
your true, what's your natural inclination?
Yeah, my voice teacher in college pushed my baritone range a little bit more, and so I was, it's obviously semi early this morning, so it's
Nice and low.
Well, yeah, it ends up. I would always,
And we're putting whiskey on top of it.
absolutely. This is great. But yeah, I would have to. I could probably sing in a high bass, mid baritone, low tenor range.
I love it.
So, I mean, of course, as somebody who sings in a lower range, I would wish nothing more than to have the voice from the lead singer from Journey. But it just is the way it goes. You're only given what you're given, and you got to make the best of it.
I think you
can do Daltrey.
I could do Daughtry.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Actually, funny story about Daughtry. A guy so I went to school in Rochester, New York, and a guy from Rochester, who was a local musician, had a kind of a cover band named Uncle Plum of all.
That's
of
a
all,
great
It's
name.
a great name for a band. He had a recording studio in his home, and we did an album for the university with my a cappella group, and we went to his house to record, and turns out he now plays keys for Daughtry on the road. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
That's crazy.
it's a real cool connection, but it's funny to see him on social media, and he's off on tour and doing all these things, which is really
That's
neat.
neat.
So, yeah.
See there, we got another episode right here.
Yeah, I mean, Meek guitar and all that.
Yeah,
I cannot.
You see
I cannot
that
play any
Van Halen
instrument, but-
guitar on the wall over there for
Absolutely.
crying out loud. I love it.
So,
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, but
So let me ask you this: You came from a mortgage background,
I did.
which I find very influential and helpful in what you do now. The ladies, so when we say ladies, we're talking about Holly and Sally and Dawn.
Correct.
My precious, anyone has my name is precious, and the little sweet doggy dog that she has
Yep.
in her office.
Mr. Milo.
Was that something that attracted you to them because of your background in lending? Is because that's how I knew you.
Yeah.
I met you originally, and you were a lender.
Right. In part. So I was working at a mortgage firm here in Richmond, and ended up when my wife and I bought our house through Aurora.
Yep.
And so
And
that's
I was
how
there
I was.
the day you closed.
You were, and I mistook you for the Dawn that is now my boss. But it just means that we were destined to be friends. So
We were destined.
Absolutely. So we were there, and I then found out that that Aurora Title was hiring, and I was interested in the title side of things. I
Right.
liked the pace of title.
Yes.
And I liked the aspect of kind of how it tied all of the different facets of real estate together.
Right.
So, the lending side is great, and you get to meet a lot of interesting people, and you're really solving a puzzle, but trying to originate that loan and put together the best product for the client. But I felt the title was a better
Fit for you.
for my skills.
Right.
So I applied, and got the job, and was very, very excited. But it's coming up on
How long?
5 years.
Has it been that long?
It'll be 5 years in February. Yeah. So it's crazy to me that it's been 5 years already.
I just think it's a perfect fit
Thank you.
because in any office space, and the office is beautiful
Thank you.
over on Pump Road. Yeah. In any office space, you've got all of the personalities.
Right.
And even though someone might bring a skill set to the business, if the personalities don't jive, you are in there together
All day.
for a long time,
Yeah.
all day long.
Absolutely.
Right?
When you spend, I tell people I always spend probably more time at work than I do sometimes at home.
You
which-
will. I mean, you're married to your wife, and then you're married to these other women. I mean, that's how it is.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, when you're
Yeah.
in a relationship with, especially business, I mean,
Right.
very important, and
Right.
you have to.
Well, if you want to make it work.
You want to take care of that like
Yeah.
you take care of your personal relationships.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I say probably the thing I think is so cool. What is so different about Aurora Title over other titles? And here's a big one. You are not owned by anyone but the founding members of that title company.
That's correct.
You do not sell shares. You don't whore yourself out.
Right.
Let me put it out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and that makes a big difference. And the reason it does to the average consumer, right, who doesn't understand or know what I'm talking about.
Right.
What I'm talking about is a lot of your big title companies sell shares to realtors, attorneys, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
To support their business.
Yeah.
You know, it's like any stock, right? To support their business. And so when you get referred to someone, they're making money off that referral, right? And I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I've had a long conversation with Sally about this. I know, you know, I'm sure you guys have had debates about this too. You know, and you guys have been approached about this sort of thing. I refer you because you are the best in town and take care of people to a level I don't think other title companies have even thought about.
Well, thank you. It means a lot.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that Sally does a beautiful white Christmas tree with all kinds of booze under it for closings.
That's my favorite day of the year is when I get to go
Let me
shopping
tell
for
you
that
what,
booze.
hey,
It's fantastic.
all you realtors out there, if you're going to close a house, make sure it closes in December and go to
correct.
Aurora Title, because guess what they do? They hand out wine and beer because
Gift
you go and do
cards.
the purchasing
I
of
do.
said beer.
Oh, it's the best.
And it's all scattered under the tree, and then there's gift cards hung on the tree. So if you don't want to drink or you're not a drinker, then there's a gift card you can choose for your
Absolutely.
closing. And if you're the realtor, they offer you a choice. I mean, you know.
And if you want, we'll crack it open right there.
And if you want, there have been times I have been to closings that I
Absolutely.
may or may not have gone into the kitchen with Christopher and
popped a bottle of champagne
Popped
or done a shot of limoncello.
oh
I
my
mean,
God, I did bring that limoncello one time.
That was delicious.
So good. So
It was really good. Yeah, we
You know,
enjoy,
I did not have this much fun cleaning teeth. I'm just telling it out there.
we enjoy. It was a motto I heard. We work hard and play hard, and I think we have a good
But
time.
you do.
Yeah, and it makes work fun. It makes being at work fun, as you talked about with the personalities and trying to find things that mesh. It's important. We're an office of 5 people.
Yes.
And so when you call, we're going to answer the phone. When you
Absolutely.
when you email, we're going to get back to you. And it's you know, we know each other. We know how each other works. It's you know, if you call and you are looking for somebody but they're not in the office and we need to, you know, answer a question about a file, chances are we're going to know what you're talking about because we don't have the thousands upon thousands of transactions every month volume. You know, it's a personalized
You do a
touch.
good
So
volume.
we do,
but it's personable.
Correct.
You're keeping it to a level that is you are allowed to continue to have this amazing, and it's not just personable to the seller or the buyer.
Correct.
Your relationships with agents and how you, and the reason I say this is because I have been the benefactor of the kindness of your office more times than I can count. Like I have a golden doodle, Vienne. I had a golden doodle. She was 10. And I've had a little whiskey, and I don't want to get teary-eyed, but I think I'm going to get teary-eyed. She was my heart dog.
Yeah.
She was everything I ever wanted in a dog.
Yeah.
Well, she got cancer, and it hit her hard, and within 90 days, she was gone.
Yeah.
And these wonderful people sent the most gorgeous bouquet of flowers for a dog.
But
But you didn't send them for the dog. You sent them to me.
Yeah.
Right? But it was because of her passing. And y'all know, I talk about that freaking dog. I still, even now, sit and look at her picture. Even though I have a new dog. And you've got to see the new dog.
I can't wait to meet her.
She's just as black as coal. And she's a pain in the ass.
Perfect. Sounds like my dog.
5 months old of never-ending energy that I'm going to lose my shit over if she gets me up at 1 o'clock in the morning one more time.
That's how it goes.
But
is
she's
the
so
contract you
precious.
signed on.
I have not gone to the bathroom once by myself since July. She will not leave. Now, Vienne, I think, was an old soul in a dog suit. She wanted to be around you, but she was good by herself. She was very independent.
Yeah.
She was like just a little bit of a bawdy
She's like,
woman.
I know you're there.
I know
and
you're there.
We're good.
I'm going to hang over here.
Yep.
Sela is my new little girl. She's up my ass 24/7. I cannot go to the bathroom. I cannot go upstairs. I can't go anywhere in the house and hear tip, 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 tip. Here she comes.
Click, clack, click, clack.
And she used to fuss terribly when I put her in her crate to leave.
Yeah.
To go to do, whatever. And now she doesn't bark or anything. But her problem is not the crate; it's she can't see me. That's really the thing.
Yeah.
And so now I'm working on having her, because I was so used to opening the back door and Vienne will run into the yard
Right.
and do her business and come back when she's tired of chasing the
ready.
squirrel she's
Exactly.
never going to
Sure.
catch.
Sure.
Selah, if I don't stand in the yard with her. So now I'm standing on the stoop and going, go potty, go do
Yeah.
your thing. Because when it starts snowing in Virginia,
Snow or rain or any
Mom
inclement
ain't, I
weather.
might love you, but Mom ain't, I want you to sleep with me, boo-boo, but Mom ain't coming out there with
Exactly.
you.
No.
So-
I did not grow up with animals. My mom was allergic to them, and so never had a dog or anything growing up. My wife has had dogs, and so we got a dog before we got married, and he's awesome. And it still blows my mind that there is a living creature in my house. That just is a foreign concept to me. But
It's awesome, though.
It is, yeah. And this morning I will see if we can put this picture up. But I've got this picture of Jackson from this morning, literally as I was walking out the door to come over here, and he just kind of like laid back and was like, "You want to rab my belly? Come on, let's go." So it's
There it is, boo-boo. There you
it's
go.
just the funniest
Touch
thing.
that right there.
Yeah, and he just is. He's a total lush, and he loves it. But I think he and Selah would be fast friends.
We need to get them together. But I mean, that's what I mean about I don't consider you business partners anymore. You guys
family.
are my people.
Absolutely.
You're great friends who provide a service. And on top of that, in any time of need that I have had, I have not even had to say anything. And the next thing I know, a card's coming in the mail or, flowers or something. I mean, you guys have always, and I've closed my own personal transactions with you. My son has closed his personal transaction with you. I will refer you. No one else. I mean, if you're doing business with any other title company in Richmond, Virginia,
give us a call.
what is your problem? What
You're
are
fine.
you thinking?
Give us a call,
Nah.
and we'll have some fun.
Yeah, we'll have some fun.
Absolutely.
I love you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
This was
here.
so much. This was a blast.
I want.
I love
Tell
this.
the people.
So,
Plug your
Yeah,
information.
tell them who you is.
Real Estate and Bourbon podcast. My name's Christopher. I work at Aurora Title. We're over in the west end of Henrico on Pump Road, corner of Pump in Ridgefield. Stop in. We'd love to see you. We'd love to show you the office. We'd love to chat about real estate, whatever. So
Phone
we're
number?
here.
Phone
So-
number? Phone number?
Phone number 804-729-9005, auroratitleVA.com, or you can even just search Aurora Title on Google. We'll pop up.
They're the ones.
Perfect.
Like, subscribe, do all the things. Don't miss an episode, and stay tuned for Zillow Busters.
It's going to be amazing. It's fire. You've been listening to the Real Estate and Bourbon podcast, hosted by Dawn Roy. Have real estate or bourbon questions or a juicy story you want us to talk about? Call our hotline at 804-293-0550, and maybe you can be on our podcast. This has been a Studio 77 production. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow the Real Estate and Bourbon podcast.